Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you find yourself in this weird, wild, wacky world of ours, and welcome to the exciting installment of Darkness in Dublin. The conch has been sounded, the clarion call of the shadows has been made. Clan Nosferatu are to gather. The communal haven of the Nosferatu is located deep beneath the streets of Dublin, though it is not itself a vestige remnant of the sewers. Rather, it is an old series of sub-basements from old official buildings that have been cobbled together via walkways and shanties in order to create a more palatable living space for the city's under denizens. Here in the communal haven, the Nosferatu are at their full strength. And oddly enough, the Nosferatu's full strength is considerable. At the moment, as the clan gathers in the main, I wouldn't quite call it a hall, as that is an incorrect word. It is a large cistern, a large circular room where water flows all around and beneath in order to see to the city's piping needs. At that point, in this large circular room with the sound of water ever present, there are approximately 20 Nosferatu of various different sizes and shapes, more than any other clan can boast within the city limits of Dublin. All of them stand, sit, slouch, or wait, some of them with interested expressions, for it has been some time since a meeting of this magnitude has been called, and since so many have gathered in one place. There's a large chair that has been set up at one end of the room, wherein Mr. Hennessy has seated himself. Though this chair is rather more, it is a grand chair, though it has been built to accommodate his rather lackluster height, so his feet do not drag comically on the ground, as is the case when he sits in Prince Thrain's throne. He looks out along among the collective gathered, his fingers pented together in silence. He hasn't said anything yet, but there is an onus that he will eventually speak in order to call this meeting to order. We will intro down my left to right, and hopefully Brandon, who is the last, will have appeared by the time that we are done. So, Dr. Brightman, you have been summoned.
Of course, Dr. Brightman appears. Um, he would make sure he was promptly on time, for which for him would be 15 minutes early. He is not wearing his mask of horse, and he is flocked by a wolf, and he has uh, two ferrets on his shoulder, Kodo and Poto. He will. I'm assuming there's a seat set up for him already.
Mhm. There are a number of benches and sofas in this room that have been scavenged from other places, so there are comfortable places to sit.
He will take whatever seat is deemed appropriate for him, setting his valise to his side. Uh, Remarkably, his white lab coat is spotless. Um,
Cool.
and he will wait patiently for everybody else to show up.
Awesome. Esme, you are next.
Esme shows up with a fuck ton of drinks in a sack. She's wearing a very expensive pair of sunglasses. Um,
But still have the price tags on them.
yeah, she has a snapback. And she also stole a pair of J's.
That's fine.
Hey, doctor.
Esme, so good of you to show up. How is Are you feeling any better? Did you have any other issues with the clan Tremere I need to bring up to their primogen?
Definitely not. Thanks again for that, by the way, doctor.
It's not a problem. Hennessy actually took the lead on that since he was discussing things with their lord, I believe is the term. But if you do need me to wrangle some boons out of some people, just let me know.
Hey, and on the flip side, let me know if you need anything. Speaking of needing stuff, she sets the sack down very gently on the table and starts removing multiple bottles of liquor. I have brought us party
By the way,
favorites.
And I'm
coming
back.
in her shadow, sorry, I'll get to you in just a second, Brandon. In her shadow, Brett, you will see the creature for the first time. As it's there. It has a hood over it, so it's not directly, like its wings are kind of clenched around itself. But it's basically it basically follows Esme wherever she goes. It doesn't talk unless you speak to it.
For now, he's just going to nod, and he's going to, if he can get a view of the face, he's going to try to see if he recognizes her.
You look into the face. You've never seen this person before in your life.
Okay.
Next on the introductions, we will have our dear Dimitri, and then we will have our new person do their introduction.
All right, so from side tunnel or entry from the shadows will step the large form of Dimitri. He's cloaked in what appears to be a very heavy duster coat. That's the hood's up over his head, hiding his face slightly. And he'll lean against a wall, not more than a few paces to one side of Brightman, where he usually hangs out anyways. Looks out over the crowd and just remains silent for the moment.
Okay. And last but certainly not least, Brandon, you may do your introduction. You are currently in an underground cistern where the Nosferatu are holding their own shadow court.
I'm going to stand back very politely, since I have dealt with these matters a little bit before. And I'm going to wait until someone presents me, or before I present myself to the Primogen or the others. If they beckon me forward, then I will come forward and be very formal in what I do and go about all the typical Nosferatu traditions. And I assume that I am arriving here from outside the city, coming in, doing business and whatnot.
That's fine. The new arrival will be noticed by the gathering. They kind of look with interested eyes at someone they don't know. But I reckon everyone here will become immediately aware that there is in fact a new arrival. They may roleplay accordingly.
Hello, he takes a polite bow. He's like, "Hello, my brothers and sisters."
Mike, the guy wearing the lab coat and glasses will stand up and walk over to you very carefully and kind of look you up and down, and you're not wearing a mask of 1,000 faces, right?
Nope, he's actually got kind of this creepy, like his eyes almost glow blue, and he's wearing this basically like for if you played Resident Evil 4, the merchant, he's basically wearing that. And he kind of puts it down, because when he puts on Mask of 1,000 Faces, it's when he gets his tux on and his human face. But right now, he actually looks like something almost out of a horror novel. But it's almost like a Nosferatu, but his skin is very, very dark. And his eyes, like I said, like they're literally glowing almost blue in the darkness.
You're not from the city. I would have seen you before.
Oh, no, I just arrived here.
We'll need to make sure you get introduced, though I'm sure our Seneschal, and he'll motion his head over to Hennessy, won't have that problem at all. I am Dr. Michael Brightman. I am the Primogen of Clan Nosferatu, as well as our resident scientific expert. If you have anything tech-related, Dimitri or Enigma can help you out with that as well.
Oh, excellent. I have a bit of the skills and the technology myself. He gives a nice little nod, and then he offers to shake your hand.
He will reach out and he will take your hand, and he will very politely shake it, not like joinky, 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 but and then he will motion to the others, and he'll look at Esme and he'll say, "That is Esme. She is under the guidance and tutelage of Seneschal Hennessy. Therefore, she is like family."
Excellent. I must ask, good doctor, are there any particular mannerisms or things, or shall we say, manquois, that I should not do here amongst the kindred, or would that be something for the prince?
Well, I will say that standard Nosferatu protocol applies, meaning that they may know we live in the sewers, but they don't know anything else. This, and you'll make a motion, doesn't exist to them. Also,
I'm sorry.
be
I'm sorry.
wary-
I don't know who you are or where we are.
Oh,
Kind of smiles.
He'll just kind of chuckle at that. I am probably the most well known of our clan in the city, besides Seneschal Hennessy, of course. And if you need to speak to members of another clan and you wish to go through diplomatic protocols, just let me know and I can help you out there. Be careful what you say around the Master of Harpies. He has proven multiple times that he has disdain for our clan, which I find hilarious considering the fact that if it wasn't for our clan, their blood would never have survived the Dark Ages. Isn't that right, Seneschal?
The
Some
Seneschal,
people are so ungrateful.
he nods his head once before he hops up. Once again, the Seneschal is not an imposing man physically. He's only about 5'2", 5'3". He's very thin. He's very thinly built, but he has an aura of "I am greater than I seem" about him. And he raises a single hand, and the room goes quiet. Thank you. I'd like to thank the honored Primogen of Clan Nosferatu for his diligence and hard work. He has taken on my mantle and my former role with gusto and diligence, and for that we are grateful.
He will
Brothers
just smile politely and then go sit down.
and sisters,
Let's see.
what I say now must never leave the confines of this room, and I trust you all to keep that confidence.
Sam will take his right hand and kind of put it in a very old-fashioned kind of salute, and he'll just simply wait for the dialogue.
Very good. As some of you may be aware, the remnants of the Sabbat invasion force that took our homes in Dublin has re-solidified and has managed to capture a small city located approximately 2 hours distance to our south, approximately 80 miles, 110 kilometers, give or take. A town called Waterford. Some of you may be aware of this. For those of you who are not, it is an undoubted fact. It seems to me, he clasps his hands behind his back as he says this. It seems to me that the city, as a general whole, has forgotten about it. However, Clan Nosferatu has not forgotten about this threat. Recently, in the last few evenings, Enigma has uncovered a transmission that has been sent on wide beam radio broadcasts. So faint it would almost be impossible to pick up unless one were looking. Fortunately, we are diligent in our task. We have managed to translate the code that was being used, an old subset of Morse code that hasn't been seen in almost a century. It was simply 3 words. We are coming.
Is that a declaration of war then?
It is the Sabbat's inclination to retake what they deem to be theirs. So,
I see.
he holds out his hands to the room as a general whole, and he will say, there are many of you here, many of my blood, childer, grandchilder, many who have fought bravely when it was this city was under occupation in order to rid it of those whom would oppress us, in order to rid us of those whom would cast us down under boot heel. We resisted. We were triumphant. Now we know that they are coming. We are armed with this knowledge, However, it was our clan who bore the brunt the last time. Our clan who fought these monsters in the streets, and our clan who raised the banner high when we were finally able to rend them down to dust and claim the victory. And for what? For the Ventrue to stalk and scheme and steal from us what was ours by right. The Ventrue took the praxis that I had fought and bled for, that my clan had suffered for, and that we should have had as our nascent right in this city, because they are the clan of princes, and because Mithras, who sits in London, deemed his brood superior to ours. This is not acceptable. The Sabbat will reinforce their position in the south. We will reinforce our position here. However, we will not be informing Prince Thrain of this threat. We will let the Ventrue sit in their ivory tower, oblivious and alone, until such time as they are once again about to be cast down. Then, if we must play the savior a second time, then so be it. But there will be a Nosferatu who will determine this city, our city, and its way forward from that day on.
From Dimitri will start the somewhat like the drum of war, is the thud on the on a pipe next to him as Hennessy ends.
Give me just a moment. I actually have to make a very odd check, but I have to make a check nonetheless. Because technically what he just did was really, and I'll make this check publicly. Give me just a second. Dude.
It's a bomb.
It's not a bomb. Trust me, Max isn't here. I can only do scenes with bombs where Max exists. Wowzers. Okay, he fails. That's interesting. That is a degeneration for Hennessy on his own road because he is willing to overthrow his master.
I just thought of that. Oh my god, he just failed his path check.
Yep.
So he has failed his path.
just a note for you, Evan. When Dimitri starts that, it is specifically as you when you're finished. So when it's obvious that Hennessy is finished speaking, it's when he starts that, as do not drown out anything he's saying or interrupt him.
That's fine. So, of the PCs, particularly the 3 older PCs who've been here for a little while. So, Brett, how are you feeling right now?
Justified. Because considering everything that he's gone through, dealing with the Toreador, dealing with there's only been one venture in the city that he's actually really liked, and it's been Bruce, and now he's gone to be an Alistair trainee. So, he's like, all these people that mocked us, all these people that looked down at us, that called us monsters, that called us demons, they have no idea what waits for them now. He's not saying that, it's going through his head. What he's actually going to say is, how many of them would have died without my intelligence? How many of them would have lost their fights if I hadn't provided them with the roots and access needed?
Dimitri has made his feelings very abundantly clear via the war drumming. Weird question. Esme, how do you feel about that? Because your adopted clan has just gone and done something pretty big and pretty, you could argue reckless, I guess. So I'm curious, how does the adoptee feel? Tim.
There we go.
There you go.
Snitches Get Stitches is still pretty relevant.
Did I say anything? I think I was muted.
Yes, you did. We could hear you.
Okay.
Sorry, continue, Tim.
Yeah, it goes along the lines of Snitches Get Stitches is very relevant right now. Two, oh shit, did we just... I don't think that was a war declaration, but I certainly don't think we're friends with somebody right now.
You immediately liken this back to your 90s soap opera to your 90s soap opera drama of, Friends and such. That's
Yeah.
all. Yeah.
Esme also finds a Spice Girl song that reminds her of this moment.
Called Whoops, You Did It Again. There you go. Okay. So, with that in mind, Hennessy retakes his chair and he will say, "We will continue to decode any possible alterations in this until such point as the Sabbat have made landing. Then we will make our final preparations." Now then, moving on to other business.
Oh, Esme does raise her hand.
Yes.
Michael raises his hand as well.
Yes, Esme?
She'll ask, in the event that someone of like a higher station, possibly even like the prince himself, were to command us to deal with the Sabbat thing, how should we go about doing that?
We will deal with the quote-unquote Sabbat thing if and when it becomes obvious. At the moment, we are merely going to safeguard ourselves and our interests. We have time. Time is our current luxury and our asset. So if this fight must begin once again in earnest, we have already made our preparations.
Got it, boss.
Dimitri will also put her hand up.
Sam will put her hand up after her.
Okay. Brett, you had your hand up. Sorry, you had your hand up second. So.
One thing that we would need to find out really quickly and with absolute assurance is if there are any in the Anarch movement that are supporting or have in the past supported the Sabbat. For if they do show their face, if the Sabbat do decide to show their faces and are making their plans, rest assured they've already contacted their allies in the city to do so.
Indeed. There are still vestigial remains of packs within Dublin City that we have been unable to destroy entirely. As for remnants of the Sabbat and the Anarch movement, we already know of one in the form of Mr. Spudgun and his associate, Mr. Tanner.
That brings up another issue then, if I may speak.
Hmm.
Do you remember when I went to that little soiree at the Baron's Manor?
Yes.
I noticed Mr. Spudgun being very close with Emily Stevenson.
Miss Stevenson has been, from what I have been told, cast out of the Anarch movement via the Baron for her willingness to, and I quote, hand over one of their own to the Camarilla's lapdogs in the form of, well, us. But not only that, Miss Stevenson appears to have drawn the attention of a red lister named Lord Ishar, who appears to be very interested in her progress. I have been unable to have her brought to me in order for justice to be rendered, because Prince Thrain, in his infinite wisdom, has determined to listen to the words of an Assamite seer over common sense.
There is one other who has her ear who might be able to get you her. Her so-called my coterie mate and her so-called stepsire, David Morris.
I will look into this matter. What were you going to say, Dimitri?
I am taking personal steps to deal with the Spudgun threat, and with permission, I would like to see how far I can utilize this Emily Stevenson to that end before we deal with anything with her.
Your permission is granted. Now, we have a new face amongst us. Step before my throne. Introduce yourself.
He steps up very formally. Hello, my brothers and sisters. I am Sam Baragon. I am hoping to do business in this city, and I see that we as a clan have some hurdles to now achieve, as we have just seen. And I am very eager to put my resources and skills to the test in aiding our clan in this. I am a broker of goods, a broker of boons and deals, if you will. I I do. Well, let's put it this way. Whatever you need, I can get it for you. So we can talk. I am more than happy to aid my clan. I would do it for a slightly modest fee, though. Of course, I mean, after we have to remember the very dark teachings of the Old Father, and that is, if you're good at something, never do it for free, and ignorance is bliss.
Hey, well
But I'm
then.
more than happy to provide my skills to our clan.
Allow me then to give my formal introduction. My name is Vincent Hennessy, sired by sorry, he does the entire thing. My name is Vincent Hennessy, scion of Ardenfreth, scion of Hilregard, sire of Hilregard, scion of Yema, scion of Absamiliard. For those of you who were listening, he just gave his generation away, if anyone cares.
Yep, don't really care. I'm not about to Diablo as an elder.
Yeah, I'm pretty low generation anyway. I'm like, I'm pretty high generation anyway, so I'm like, I'm not going to try.
But you are welcome within the city. I welcome you on behalf of the domain.
Excellent. And he gives a very polite bow. And he says, thank you.
Now then. Esme, step forward, please.
Esme removes the snapback and the expensive sunglasses and does so.
Now then, there is the question of what to do with your friend.
Looks over to 13. Looks back.
Looks at Esme with those very wide eyes of her, and she says, "Have I displeased you, mistress? I apologize."
No. 13.
This is the sin of the Tremere's blood sorcery made manifest that stands before us. A bastardization of blood. What to do? What to do? I throw the floor open if anyone has a suggestion.
Dimitri will raise his hand.
Speak.
We have a threat incoming. If she is willing to assist us, then perhaps she may be of use.
Perhaps.
I would raise my hand, or Sam would raise his hand, and he would be like, in my experience, I shall second that notion. It's a good idea, more the merrier.
Michael will stand up and will walk over very cautiously to 13. Is it possible to recover its memories, the creature it was before it became this?
It blinks as it looks at you and it says, "This one was born as it is."
From what I've been told, that wasn't the case. You were another vampire once, twisted into what you are now.
Hennessy leans forward and he says, "That is not always the case. They have the ability to sire young in the same way as any other kindred does. It is only the oldest that were the creation of the bastardization of the Tremere blood magics, the blood of our clan, the blood of the Gangrel, and the blood of the Zamis."
What about this Ashar, who apparently had access to those blood magics, though?
Were you born at the hands of Lord Ishar? What? She calls herself 13. Why does she do that, Esme?
Because she was the 13th. That was the number that was given to her. There were apparently 12 beforehand. I don't know what happens then.
She blinks with those very large crimson eyes and she says, I was born as I am, now, in service. But to answer your question, I do not think I was anyone prior to this.
Michael will actually turn and walk away, and if anybody can pay any notice, there's a tear of blood going down his face.
Dimitri will stand up from his lean position again, step over, and stop a respectable distance from the gargoyle. I think before he looks back at Hennessy and goes, "With your permission, I'd like to ask her a question."
If you wish.
Before we decide completely, we should ask her. Would she be willing to stand with those in this room in defense of the city?
She blinks those very large crimson eyes and she says, where Mistress Esme stands, I stand.
He looks over his shoulder to Hennessy again. Then she may be of use.
It would seem as though you have taken on rather a large responsibility, Miss Martinez.
So it does. Is there... I think it's quite obvious when I say that this situation is far different from anything I've experienced. Is there anything I should know beforehand?
I'm curious. 13. Yes. Why is it that you were not bound as the others are? Ordinarily, gargoyles are bred to serve. They serve their purpose, they serve their masters. Why is it you were able to not? Did they not make you drink the blood of your masters? Yes, they did. And? Why was it you were not bound to them? She shrugs. I never formed that connection like my brothers and my sisters. That is an interesting statement. As every PC in the universe now knows about that wonderful little merit that this person clearly has.
Yo.
Why is it that they were hunting you? The first left and joined the enemy. So we were slated for destruction because they could no longer trust us. All of my brothers and sisters were burned alive. And I watched. But when the time came, I wouldn't simply submit as the others had. I ran.
Tisk.
Interesting. Very interesting. Very well. Isma Martinez, you may consider, do you wish to continue to call her 13, or would you rather give her a name?
It may be a good idea to give her a name, just in case.
What would you name her? She kind of looks at you expectantly with those giant red eyes, like,
She looks, stares, and she comes up with something, and she just says, Alexis?
God fucking damn it, I fucking hate you, I'll fight you IRL.
I would actually, what?
Never my fucking changeling. Okay.
Oh shit! I forgot. I'm sorry. It's too late.
It's fine. It's canon now.
This is why cross-splatting is the best.
Alexis. I like that. I will be Alexis. Not. Very well then. It has been decided. I had no wish to deprive her of her life simply because of the sin and the nature of her birth. That would make us no greater hypocrites than the Tremere who stole the blood to birth them in the first place. She kind of, Alexis kind of, so is this me sitting down or is she standing up?
Yeah, considering Hennessy called her up, I figure she's standing up.
You will notice that Alexis has put a chair behind you. Like she picked up a chair and just put it behind you.
All right.
She's being helpful, Gargoyle.
She is. But actually, though, Esme doesn't. Actually, Esme will kind of turn to Alexis and ask then, because of what you described, it sounds as if you're. I'm not calling it into question, but it does sound as if your loyalty has a limit. You're not going to. I would never ask you to do this. You wouldn't just die if I told you to die.
I have no wish to die. But then again, would you die for something you believed? Would you die for something that you believed the reasoning behind was just?
Probably, yeah.
I had no wish to die simply because they said, some of you are wicked, thus all of you are wicked, thus you must all die. That is not to say that for a cause in which I myself believed, I would not give up I would not give up that most precious thing that was my life.
All right.
I believe that my brothers and sisters deserve freedom from the shackles and the yoke that has been placed upon them since the moment of their embrace into this second life. They do not deserve to be slaves to the will of those simply because those have power.
Understandable and agreeable.
She looks at Hennessy and she addresses him. She says, I ask something of you, who wears the mask of bone. Will you help the others find their freedom? Hennessy pents his fingers together and leans back in the chair. He doesn't know how to answer that. It's one of those kind of...
Hey, do I know vampire history yet?
Would you have liked to have been educated in this specific topic since 13 was found?
Yeah, probably.
Then yes.
Esme will say, from a practical point of view, more people that are loyal to us, or at least more people that aren't loyal to the Tremere. And if the Tremere take a hit, the Venture take one too.
Very well then. We will help free your kind because it is... You share our blood. In many ways you are likened unto us. We will do what we can. Do you all agree with me? He will say as he looks around the room.
Michael will nod his head approvingly.
I am in accord. Sam will kind of nod.
Dimitri nods. It is right.
Good. Good. Now then, I move on. Does anyone else have any other business they wish to bring up before the quorum?
None that I haven't brought up already. It's just as long as I am permitted to start running my contacts in business and running info through you first, of course, and getting our resources greater. Unless there's more channels that I need to throw through. I imagine I'll need to talk with a few of the others, perhaps the prince as well.
I recommend if you wish to embark upon business opportunities, you talk with Enigma. He does most of our tech support as well as understanding of things like the manipulations of the stock market, etc.
Excellent. Thank you.
Also, if you need somebody to go up and do surface things, you can also do that.
Perfect. We are
And if you have any... Go ahead, Dimitri.
Dimitri will turn, with your permission, and your permission, he looks at first and at Michael's next. I would seek permission to start on an armory for us for the coming problems. that any available material resources be forwarded to my workshop for construction of weapons and armor.
an armory, you say? I can aid you with that.
I don't know why, but when you said it like that, the thing that immediately came to my mind was, and to shreds, you say. That's his wife? To shreds, you say.
After all, I first started my business during the Great War in Europe.
He will look over his shoulder and acknowledge the offer, but hold up his hand as he waits for permission to do so first.
Your permission is granted.
He will bow and step back to his shadowed corner.
And Michael will say, and as I've already mentioned, I'm a scientist. My main areas of expertise are zoology, biology, and genetics. However, I am also studying anthropology, archaeology, and psychology. I have my bachelor's in psychology and my master's in anthropology. So, but I do a lot of other stuff too. I'm also a medical doctor. And if you need anything investigated, samples taken to a mass spectrometer, blood analyzed, that sort of thing, just let me know. Our great seneschal has his own hospital, which has given me access to quite a sizable medical scientific facility, as well as I am also a consulting genetic scientist at Trinity University, where I also am able to have access to a lab there as well.
I'm Dimitri. My specialty is I break things, and I break heads when needed.
Perfect. We are well divided and spread out. I, of course, am very good at gaining knowledge, staying stealthy. I know how to use a gun here and there, and I also have a bit of dabbling in the sciences and technologies, and I am also a acquirer of many resources. As I said, if you need it, I can get it for you.
Very well. If that is all in that case, I may bring this meeting to a close, unless anyone else has any other matters they wish to raise.
Were you able to get that sample I gave you to the Tremere, assuming they're not already busy being caught on fire by HR or something?
They're currently in the process of dealing with the matter, and they will get back to me when it is they have time in order to look it over. Due to the issue that is currently spreading in the former Elysium, they are in the process of desperately holding back a great number of otherworldly forces, the likes of which I do not wish to fathom.
He'll nod his head. I'm still aware yet unaware of what's in there, and I'm worried that if I try to think about it any further, my brain will fracture.
I would rather that not happen, so if we can please refrain. Thank you.
He'll nod his head and he'll go back to sitting down.
Very good. Now then, in that case, anyone else? No. Bring this meeting to a close. You are dismissed. Go forth into the night so that you may enrich it by being ever merely the shadows that stalk, the lightest footstep on the stair. In this I have faith in you. You will sit back down.
Michael will stand up, run a finger lightly over his wolf's head, and then we'll say, we should probably get back down to the grotto just to make sure everything's okay. My animals have started getting nervous when I'm not there. I think they're worried.
Yeah, we wouldn't want that to happen, now would we?
We will find you somewhere to stay until you get yourself on your feet, newcomer.
Thank you. That was one of the first things I was going to start doing, was getting some context established and a base of operations, so to speak.
As you wish. In that case, once again, I shall leave you all to your conversations. You will see the Seneschal from where he's sitting on the throne. He will simply vanish from your eyesight.
And I don't have the aspects to follow that up either, so.
Being the fact I have Obfuscate 5, do I know what he used?
He used Obfuscate, yes.
He's vanished from the mind. I have Obfuscate 5. I figured that out too. So, if he had taken people with him, then it would have been 5. But
yeah, it would have been
5. Michael
took
just
the throne with him.
Well, you know how many steps he is away from medicinal arts, so that makes sense.
I'm going to, if no one else has any declarations, I was going to talk with my fellow Nazi here, but I was mostly going to go ahead and start wondering if I could start establishing stuff. And first things that I would start doing is establishing some armaments for the Nazi and finding a base of operations, and also start looking into counterfeited art.
Okay, that's a whole bunch of blue booking.
Yep.
So I tell you what, I need to get going because I have to get off, but I will end this hangout. Just give me a second.